Welcome to today's class. All right, so you can use Microsoft Learn here. Link is here. Go through this, very easy. You go through, you create your first agent, and then you have your badges as you go through the journey. And then when you start creating your agents and you need to go a level deeper in understanding, then you can start with Microsoft documentation. So this is like really, really into it, everything, getting started, securing your agents, creating your agents, agent flows. So this is now taking you like one level deeper. But I wouldn't start with this. I'll start with the Microsoft Learn. Then as you start building your agents, then you can start to look at this one that is more detailed here. Okay, and then let's see the progress, especially with your Microsoft Learn. So let's see your progress in the chat, on LinkedIn. Like, let's make some noise about how you're getting through it and creating your agents. Now, agents is a big deal, and it's going to continue to be a big deal for the next X number of years because this is the future, and Microsoft is really laser focused on agents and the ability for agents to improve automation, autonomous agents that they're intelligent enough to do stuff on their own. So it's a really important knowledge for you to have. Okay, so that's on that. Now let me move to my slides for today. I don't know if you have any questions around the Microsoft Learn or the documentation. Have I pasted the second one? No. Okay, I have. All right. So I will share my. Okay, can you see the Copilot Studio screen? Okay, great. So we have in the past couple of weeks, like 2 weeks now, we've been talking about, okay, your Copilot Studio. We showed you a quick example. We showed you how to add knowledge. I think Jeshri also showed a bit about the authoring canvas last week. I was only here for a bit of the session. So we're going to talk a bit more about that. And then we'll go into like, if you want to create a new topic on your own and some of these things that we have here. So you're while you're authoring, so authoring means you want to create your agent, you're thinking through, okay, what do I want this agent to do? What's the purpose, which we spent a lot of time talking in our first class. What do I think people will ask it? How is it going to respond? How can I refine it? So as you're thinking about that, there are different responses that your agents can give in the authoring canvas. And this is some of the things that are listed here, right? So you can have your rich responses. You can integrate PowerFX based variables into your agents. PowerFX is a coding language that we use like it originated from Power Apps. But what Microsoft is doing is they want the abilities for any of the Power Platform tools to read and understand PowerFX. So that includes Copilot Studio now. And then you can also have a code side by side where you can move between the visual editor and the text editor. And then there's the event-driven and contextual triggering. So all that means is you want to trigger certain you want certain things to happen when something has happened, right? So like conditional statements, if this happens, then do this. So that's also available in the authoring canvas. And then it gives us the ability to copy and paste as well. So that's giving us an overview of what the authoring canvas looks like. Now, this is an example of the simple message node. Like one of the most common nodes used is the message node. So this is what you want to say when somebody comes into your agents. There's also the question node. So a common example is somebody comes to your agent and says, oh, I want to know the store opening hours. And then you can ask the person the question to say, where are you located? So that's a question node. And the person says, oh, I'm in Lagos, or I'm in Port Harcourt, or I want to know about your store in Abuja. And is able to, based on the answer that the user gives it then branches out to the different options available. So if person says, oh, I'm in Lagos, then it can say, oh, Lagos store opens at this time. If the person says, oh, I'm in Abuja, then it can tell you, oh, Abuja store opens at this time. So it provides the capability to ask a question from your user, the user interacting with the agent, and then it can operate, you can respond on top of that. Then the rich text response is when you're able to deliver just rich text from the basic language, not just simple text. You can embed like an image, you can format your response in a particular way. So like the image that you have here, you see that it's not just text, it's like there's some things in bold, some things, are not in bold, some are bigger than the others. So it's able to deliver that kind of rich text message to the listeners. And then you're also able to use variables. So you can add variables to keep the customer informed of a conversation later. So maybe I've asked the customer, what's your name? I'm able to store that and then retrieve it later on in the conversation to say, oh, hi, Foe, based on your question, I would like you to know that our store hours are opened at this particular time. So we are able to keep answers that your customer has given you, which goes back to the question about thinking through what exactly do I want to achieve in this bot, in this agent that I'm building. So if one of your goals is, oh, I want this thing to really be personalized for this user, you may need to store some of the variables that your user is giving to you to ensure that at a later point in that conversation, you're able to bring back that information to the person. So that's what and keep it tailored. That's what variables are used for per time in the conversation based on what you want to achieve. So then we have entities as well. So it's able to keep information and bring it back. So it can guide intelligently to avoid repeated conversations. So you want to ask like some examples that we have here. You've stored certain information here, like shipping, air shipping, local shipping. All of that is shipping method is an entity. An entity is just like a table. So the agents in Copilot Studio are able to create entities that avoids repetition or avoids the agent asking repetitive conversations from the human or the user. So just imagine that, remember we spoke about variable. Variable is just one item, but what if it's a list of things, right, that you don't want to keep going back or asking the user to fill? You just want your agent to pick that knowledge that is already existing in it and surface that to the user rather than asking the user for that information. So then you can redirect and connect customers based on related topics. So all of our, and we'll go back, but all of the conversations, if you remember, we spoke about topic. All of our violate GDPR. Okay, I'll get to that once before I go to my demo. So all of our topics, all of our conversations are stored in topics. So those topics, we can connect them. Like you can see in the example, there's a topic called order cancellation. You can connect that to another topic as the conversation flows. So that's the redirection to related topics. So you can say, oh, if somebody says something, if somebody's talking about this particular thing, or you're talking about store opening hours, and he said, oh, this store opens at 5 a.m. And then person can say, oh, what kind of products do you have? Or can I get a dryer from your store? Then you can redirect that person to the product topic that is already existing. And then there's a speech authoring capability as well. And pro code options are also available within the Copilot Studio. So we're just giving an example of the different capabilities that we have within Copilot Studio. Now we have the knowledge sources, which we've spoken about a lot already, where you can make your knowledge source from a public website, you can use a file, or you can use documents that are stored in SharePoint and Dataverse. Can point your agent in Copilot Studio to multiple knowledge sources. So that's covered already. And And then this gives an example, a very worded slide, but it's just talking about the different knowledge sources and more information about them and how it works. So now we're in our agents, we're able to use the prompt as well. So Power Apps has something called an AI builder, which has predefined models. Now, one of the new, not so new things that AI builder has is a prompt. So from within Copilot, within your agent in Copilot Studio, you can also call in that prompt that you've created. So an example is if I have an agent on my website and I've directed it to certain locations to say, okay, this is maybe I'm an insurance company, and I have all of this information about personal insurance or car insurance in specific locations in my specific locations on my website. So I've added all of that to my agents. But I know that people may ask specific questions around terms and conditions, and those are located in a particular area. Or somebody can say, oh, someone can say, oh, I want you to analyze my application form and tell me if this insurance, how much is it going to cost me? What's my repayment going to be like? So I can create a prompt in the AI builder and say, go to this source of information and this and this and this, and analyze this users or this customers insurance questions, and use only these sources alone. And I can create a prompt like that. And I'm giving the availability to upload that document, and then I can see what the answer looks like. So I can now connect that prompt to my agent to say, okay, if somebody asks a question about comprehensive insurance, or somebody has filled a form and says, oh, analyze this and let me know my repayment terms are going to be like, call these prompts, which I've created in AI Builder. So it's able to do that. So those are some of the capabilities that Copilot Studio has. Now, all of this is also talking about responsible AI. It uses its answers from 3.0 turbo. I think it's 4 now, and it has 4.5 in preview. So these things are always changing. And then it's all your data and processing, data storage and processing. It's not storing your data, all of that here, customer logbox. So this is just generally talking about the compliance and security considerations that Copilot uses, and it follows all Microsoft responsible AI principles. All right, so now let me show us Copilot Studio agents, and then we can look at some of those things I spoke about in the authoring canvas. But before I go there was a question about GDPR. So I'm not sure at what point you asked that question, because I've said a lot of things. So maybe let me allow your mic so you can ask the question, and then we can look at the demo together. Or we take it at the end of the class if you prefer, or if you don't forget.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So now, this is Copilot Studio. How do you access Copilot Studio? Right? You need to go to this URL. So I'm in my environment and I have logged on, right? So I know Shalom, you just joined us. I don't know if you have access to your environment, your username and password. If you got any email, you can let me know in the chat. So once you are in, like I'm in Microsoft 365 now, I have my teams running and everything. What I need to do is I need to come to copilotstudio.microsoft.com. Very easy. That's the URL you need to go to. So when you land on copilotstudio.com, copilotstudio.microsoft.com, it brings you to this interface, and you're probably landing on this homepage here. right? You are here. So there are a lot of things you can do from this place. Okay, perfect. So there are a lot of things you can do from here. You already see some of these agents are already created. You can create your new agent by describing it, which is one of the benefits that Microsoft has brought with this whole natural language thing, right? But I want to show us, and then you can. So Jeshri last week showed us the travel agents, and that's fine. So from travel agents, you can connect your knowledge sources, like we've learned already. Um, your knowledge is here. You have your topics here. Now we spoke about system topics and custom topics, right? And then you have your actions and other activities, the channels that you publish it to. So if we create a topic from blank, this is what it looks like. Now, let's assume that maybe we should create a leave. Okay, we'll continue with this travel agent, and then we can go off and create other agents that we want. But when you're starting to author your topic, and Copilot can also help you to write. So to start learning 5 to short trigger phrases. So we'll say maybe so I'll assume this is a travel. So let me say travel request. Office trip. Training trip. Okay. So if any of these phrases come up or anything related to them, then you can it starts the conversation. So these are the different things that we spoke about in terms of the nodes, right? So what do you want to say? You can say message, which is something like what you're saying here. Hi, I'm a da agent. I'm here to help you. So that's fine. I'll just type something travel agent. Okay. 1 second. I'll show us something else. When would you like to make this trip? So after this, I can then I should have asked the question. 1 second. Let me delete this node. So let's make that a question node instead. So when we like to make this trip. So I want to have multiple choices. So do I want to create an entity or just make it a manual entry? Is it color? Is it, so there are some default things that are here that you can pick from automatically if you want to use any of these. And if your list does not exist here, you can add the option manually yourself. So we can say maybe Saturday. Now, this is just fictitious examples, right? So you can say maybe Saturday, or you can say Monday. So what we can then do is, so so the user option is saved now as a variable based on what the user picks. So I now want to include a condition here. So I want to say if the user response is equals to Monday, then what do I want to happen? Then say, sorry, you can't travel on Monday or something like that. Sorry, no trips permitted on Monday. I missed a bit of last class. Did Jeshri cover conditions last week? Just wish I'm not repeating. I don't think she did. Was anyone
No, she
here?
didn't.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I'm not boring you. I was like, oh, did she cover? I don't think so. Okay. So sorry, no trips on Monday. And then we can now say all other conditions means if the person, so we can, if it depends on the number of options you have, right? So if you have 3 or 4 or 5 options, you can determine how you want to route it. And then the final leg will be any other thing will come this way, right? So let me say, let's test this for now to give an example. So what will I call this one now? Let's just say um, trip day test. Trip day test. Okay. All right. So this one is, so this is still saying, hi, this is a website FAQ. So let's edit that, right? That's not what we want to say to the users. So this is the custom topic that I have created myself, that you have created yourself. So that's fine. So what we're now going to do is we're going to say, oh, my bot is saying website Q&A, but that's not what it should say, right? This is a travel Q&A. Why is saying that? Okay, so let's come back to topics and let's see how I'm going to solve that. So that topic is stored in greetings. So if you come to greetings, you see here. So usually when you create your bot, you have some topics that come with it already. So let me see. No, 1 second. Okay. Mm, let's check start over. Let's begin again. Okay. Certainly greetings. All right. Okay. Sorry. Travel agent. Save. Let's publish. So the difference between save and publish is when you're saving, you're only saving like for yourself, but when you publish, it becomes live. Like everybody that has access to that bot will be able to use it. So that's the difference. So let me see. Okay. This is what I'm looking for. Conversation starts. Okay. Travel agents. Okay. So let me go over what we have done. We created this travel agent last week. And what I'm doing now is, first thing I did was I created a custom topic just to show us what condition what some of those nodes that we spoke about looks like, which I did here. So I came to custom and trip day test. I created my own topic. And within this, I said, okay, if anybody says any of these things, ask this question. If they select this, give this answer. Very simple condition. And then I discovered it was same website Q&A. Why is it same website Q&A? Then I went back to the system topic. System topics are the topics that were created for you. And I came to conversation starts. And I said, what we're doing is not a website Q&A, it's a travel agent. And I edited this. So if we refresh this now, you can see that it has changed based on the changes we made. So let's try let's test. I like smiling when I'm testing, because that's the joy of live demos. Hope it works the way you want it to. So we can see, when would you like to make the office trip? So Saturday or Monday. So it's showing us the options based on what we put in. So then I said, if I say Monday, sorry, no trips on Monday, right? Then if I say, I'll take it back. And if I say Saturday, doesn't do anything because I'm not told this what to do when it says Saturday, right? So if I come back here to our topics and I say trip test, so we're here, right? All other conditions, even after, sorry, no trips on Monday, what do we want to do? We can then redirect it. So maybe we redirect it to another topic or we can channel it somewhere else. So you can say, go to another topic, like what? End of conversation. So that's already here. So save. If I test this now and I say office trip, wait, let me refresh. Okay, office trip. And I say Monday. So sorry, no office trips on Monday. This is here, and then it's going to the conversation to end the discussion. Did I answer your question? Then if I say yes, then to ask me to rate. Because if we go into this topic, this end of conversation topic, we can see that that's how we've asked the conversation to end here. So they've also created, like this end of discussion comes by default. So it's already there for you. You can see there's a Boolean, a yes or no Boolean, which is what we saw here. Yes or no, I said yes. And it's saying that if it's true, then ask it to rate. And if I rate, it's supposed to just say, thanks for the feedback. Is there anything else I can do for you? You know, no, and yes, go ahead, I'm listening. So let me test that now. Let me give it a rating of 5. Is there anything else I can help you with? If I say yes, it will say, go ahead, I'm listening. You see, if I had said no, it will have said, thank you, goodbye. So this is a typical example of this. So the branching I did was very simple. I just said, when are you traveling, Monday or Saturday, yes or no? And then this conversation end is a default topic that shows branching as well. But you can see it's more extensive than the one that we built together. So I don't know if you have any questions about the condition and the branching. Okay, so that's fine. Now, how many of us have used Power Automate before? Okay. So okay. All right, great. So what about if you ask a question that isn't a custom topic but closely resembles it? So let's say we'll practicalize it together now. Let me see. So this was originally it's an interesting knowledge source. Jesse had originally pointed it to this UK advice source. I just used it for something else. So let's say let me ask it women travelers. Let's see. What does it say about this? Okay. So that's not a custom topic, but let's see what happens. So let me say, let's restart and say advice for women. I'll say trip. Let's see what happens. Okay. So it's going to the advice for the women women trip. So I use the word trip because trip is now a custom topic, right? But the knowledge source is here. Remember, our knowledge source is here. My custom topic is kind of a bit a bit off because I'm talking about an office trip, but it's coming here to your knowledge source to get that advice, because the agent knows that what you're looking for is an advice. You're not looking for something that is talking about when you want to make the trip, right? So we have said here, and that's why when you're creating your custom topics, you need to be very specific as you can be, to say training trip or something. So if I come back here and say maybe trip, see, when would you like to take your trip, right? So it's coming to the custom topic. So again, the success of your agents is heavily dependent on planning. Like you need to think about it a lot and say, okay, your custom topics are going to come in for questions, like general questions. You may have like your documents or your website for that. But custom topic is now when you want to start including the conditions, things that are not just information based. Like here, you want to rouse people to on a specific, you want to take them on a specific journey to get answers, right? So, and that can be for, okay, customer comes, travel agent, I want to know how much something is going to cost. So how much is a trip? Since this is a travel agent, how much is a trip to, I don't know, somewhere? Then you may need to start conditioning them. So this is not just a general FAQ. So now I'm trying to bring together knowledge base and your custom topics. So when you're being your custom topic, your custom topics are more focused on answers that they can't get from the websites. To say, okay, they want to know how much a flight is. We want to get that information from internal SharePoint list or from an external source. We want to call an API that will go somewhere else to get it for us. So that's where you start to look at Power Automate. And how do you use Power Automate? So let's say maybe I'll just continue with this simple example, right? All other conditions, what do you want to happen? We want to have an action that will happen here. And we want to create a new flow. So this new flow, for some of us that said, yes, we've used Power Automate before, all of this interface is just Power Automate, right? If I come here and I say new, I'll just do instant cloud flow. And I'll say manually trigger create. So you can see. So when you look at this interface and you look at this interface, it's exactly the same thing that we have here. And if I say add, you see here and here. So if you know Power Automate already, just know that that's Power Automate within Copilot Studio, and the principles are the same. Now, in what instances do we need to do this? And I'm getting into the next. So I'll just come here for those of us that don't know much about Power Automate. So Power Automate is an online workflow service that automates actions across apps and systems, right? We have an action across different applications. We need to bring it together. Then you're talking of Power Automate. So I'll use my leave example because it's a very simple example that most of us can relate to. So we have our leave maybe application, and it needs to go to a manager to approve. The engine behind that approval process is Power Automate. And what does it do? You create your leave application. The data is stored somewhere, SharePoint, Dataverse, SQL, and you have an action that says whenever a new row is created in this database, send an email to someone. All of that is happening in Power Automate. Then can start getting a bit complex when you're saying, okay, I want to know how many leave days I have. So I've built this agents called a leave agent. And I want a situation where whenever anybody comes into these agents, they are able to know how many leave days they have left. But those leave days, where does the information sit? Where does that information sit? Oh, it sits in your HRIS system or in Workday or some other system like that, or SAP. How do I get that information out? So that's what Power Automate helps us to do. So we have 12,000 plus pre-built data connectors. So all these connectors are just API calls that are wrapped for you. The standard connectors, standard data connectors that are pre-built. They are API calls that have already been wrapped. So all you need to do is just click on it, select it, and then you are good to go. And what we're doing in Copilot Studio is we're leveraging Power Automate now to start to get that information for our agents from the different 1,000 plus sources that information sits in based on your scenario. So you don't have to build custom API or HTTP calls. So you have here, it's able to connect to data, to systems, is able to create those triggers, those actions. Then you can edit it and then also approve, even on mobile or on the web. So that's what Power Automate does for us. So let's go, and they are ready-made templates. So let's go into, I won't stay too much. I just want to show us straight what that looks like. So if I come here now to Power Automate, now I just use the manual trigger, but I can use an automated trigger, which says when a new item is created. Let me duplicate this so I can show you what that looks like. Oh, 1 second. Let me create a new one. So I'll create a new automated cloud flow. Test automated. So you can see my triggers are here. When a new item is created, then you want in SharePoint, then I want something to happen. When a new response form is submitted, like the attendance that we're filling, there is a flow behind it. So whenever you fill the attendance form, what happens is it goes into our SharePoint list and marks you as present. So nobody's doing that manually. We've automated the whole process. So when a new form is submitted, then do this. When a new item is created, then do this. And the list goes on and on. I'll just click this SharePoint list for now. So, but I need to give it a location. Let me just copy this. I created the okay. Custom value. All right. Stay with me, please. Okay, so this is my SharePoint site. And then my SharePoint list name. Let me see if it will come. No. Oh, what did I call it? Employee onboarding agent. Okay. Operational tools may not be visible. Okay, let's just continue with it. We're not using it much. I just want to show us. So from here, we then have different connectors here based on what we want to do. So all of these items here are connectors to different systems, right? So when a new item is created in SharePoint, what do I want to do? I may just want to send an email here. I may want to retrieve an information from another system. So we have standard connectors. We have and we have the premium ones. So the premium ones are the ones with the little diamond. It means that you can't use your free license. I know. Yeah. So I'm sticking to the new design because we have some new people, but and that's what Copilot gives you. So we have to get used to it. But I usually just turn this off and go with the old design. So switch without saving. So this is what the old one looks like. All right. This is what the old one looks like. And then you can just see, I don't know. Anyway, I reserve my comments. So you can just have all your actions. So when a new item is created, I want to add a row in Dataverse, what do you want to do basically? And you can search as well for it. So if I close this and I do something else, add a step, I want to retrieve something from SharePoint. If I search for SharePoint, I see all the SharePoint connectors here for me. So now, how does this relate to us? So what we're going to do, and we're probably going to talk about we'll talk about our projects next week, right? But we're going to do this demo. For today, I wanted to introduce us to Power Automate. For those of us that have not used Power Automate before, I wanted to first introduce us to a simple conditional situation in a topic, which was what we saw with the Saturday and the Monday, and how that response is stored in a variable that I explained that you can then use later on. So that's the first thing. Then the other thing is to introduce us to Power Automate for those of us that may not be familiar with it, because Power Automate is the engine behind what we're going to use in Copilot Studio, and how you can create a new flow and connect it to different sources based on what you want to achieve, right? So what we'll do next week is we will now look at how we're going to bring the two together from end to end. We'll create our agents, add our knowledge sources, create a custom topic. Within that custom topic, we'll have a conditional question there. And then based on the user's response, we will then go into a SharePoint list and retrieve the answer for the user. So we'll do that next week, and then I can expand a bit more on it as I think about the use case during the week. So you're not going to see Power Automate for the first time next week because I've looked at it today and we kind of understand what it does. I know what all of the connectors do for us. And we're going to now use that within this window in our agents, then test the agents from end to end. So I don't know if you have any questions on what we've covered today.
None from my end.
Okay, all right. So it's clear.